Okay, today we have to talk about the solid state. Clear? So let's come on. You know very well that in my previous video I have talked about for in this chapter we have to talk the 5 states of the matter, that is the solid state, liquid state, gaseous state, and Bose-Einstein state conduction and plasma state. Clear? And today we will talk about for solid state. Clear? So what you know about the solid, you know very well that solid have definite shape and definite volume. Clear? Or we can define that the solid is that physical state of the matter which have definite shape and definite volume. This is a very important feature for any solid. Clear? Whenever anyone asks about that, tell me what you know about the solid, then you will always say that it has a definite shape and definite volume. Clear? And number of objects we see in our surrounding which belongs to the solid, like the table, chair, metal, so on. These are all solid. Clear? Suppose when we ask about the solid, how we can say that the solid have the definite shape or definite volume. Clear? So take a solid and put in a box and remain that box for 1 week or after 1 month. Is the solid which you have put in the box have a shape changed? No. Clear? Because the solid does not change itself or it will not change its shape. So we can say here that the solid has definite shape as well as definite volume. Clear? So now we talk about for the features of solid or the general properties of solid. Clear? You know very well that every matters are composed of the particles, and these particles have a definite properties. Clear? Similarly, when we talk about for the solid, then it will also contain the particles, or particles means atom, ions or molecules, which is also known as its constituents. Clear? So the first point for solid is it has a definite shape and definite volume. Clear? Suppose this is a duster. When we take example for this duster, so this duster have a definite shape and definite volume because the length, breadth and height it is mentioned here already. It will not change. Clear? So every solid have definite shape and definite volume. Clear? Second point is that very important line, in solids the particles are arranged very closely to each other. Clear? When we talk about for any solids or any examples of the solid, then we will say that the particles which are present in the solid are arranged very closely to each other. But now here a question in our mind, that how can we say that the particles are arranged very closely to each other? Clear? So the explanation of this point are given just below, that is in the point number 3. Clear? The particles of solid are arranged very closely to each other. Reason, in solids the particles have strong intermolecular force of attraction. Clear? Clear? So the particles which are present in the solid attracts to each other very strongly, and due to this strong attraction the solid comes the particles comes very closely to each other. Understand? So here we can say that the solid, the particles are arranged very closely to each other due to the force which are exist in between the particles, and that force are known as intermolecular force, or you can say that in particles of the solid there is a strong intermolecular force of attraction. Clear? And due to this strong intermolecular force of attraction, the particles are arranged very closely to each other. Understand? Come on, the point number 4. Solid have high melting point and boiling point. Melting point means the temperature at which a solid changes into the liquid. Clear? And the boiling point means the temperature at which a liquid changes into the vapor. Clear? So when we talk about for the melting point and boiling point in case of solid, it has very high melting point and boiling point. Reason is that you know that in solid the particles arrange very closely. There is a strong force of attractions between the particles. So more heat or more temperature is required to break that intermolecular force of attraction, and that's why the melting point and boiling point is very high in case of solid. Clear? Because more temperature or more heat is required to break that force of attraction, and when it will not break, then the solid does not change into the liquid or so on. Clear? So here we can say that the solid have high melting point and boiling point. Clear? Fifth point, solid have high density. Density means density is equal to mass upon volume. Clear? When the arrangement will be very closely, then the density will also be very high. Clear? And you know very well that the solid, the particles are arranged very closely to each other, and that's the reason that the density is very high. Clear? So we can say in this point the solid have high density, and the density of solid is high. The reason is the second point, the particles are arranged very closely to each other, and thus the density will be high. Understand? Now come on the sixth number point. This is also a very important line. There are no intermolecular space present in between the particles of solid, so it is incompressible in nature. Clear? When we talk about for the compressibility of any solid, that means suppose this is a chalk, clear, and when we want to compress it like this, then it will not compress because the particles are arranged very closely to each other. Clear? And there is no any space which are left between the particles in case of solid. Clear? And that space is known as intermolecular space. Clear? So we can say that in case of solid, there is no intermolecular space are present between the particles, and that's the reason the particles cannot be compressed, or we can say that the solid is incompressible in nature. Clear? That means we cannot compress the solid. Understand everyone? Then 7th point, solid have no fluidity property. As you know that when we pour a liquid on the floor, then it will flow by itself. The property is known as fluidity. Clear? But in case of solid, no fluidity property we consider. Clear? Because solid cannot flow by itself due to strong intermolecular force of attractions. Last point, solids are rigid. Solids are rigid because the second point you know, and the third point. Clear? So in this way we can explain all the points which are given for the solid or the features of solid, or you can also say this is the general properties of the solid. Clear? There is a question always asked here that sponge is a fine example for a solid. Clear? Sponge is a solid. Question is that sponge is a solid although it is compressible. Clear? This is the question and you have to give the reason. Clear? Sponge is an example for solid, but it is incompressible. You know very well that the solid are incompressible in nature, but the sponge can be compressed easily. Why? You know very well that in sponge or in whole body of the sponge there is a fine hole or pores are present in its whole body. Clear? And this pore or hole is known as ostia. Clear? Due to presence of this fine hole or pore in case of sponge, the air or the gases will enter inside it, and we When we want to compress, then it will easily compress because we are compressed here air, not the sponge. Clear? Because the air or the gases which are present inside the sponge through its hole. Clear? And in this way we can say that the solids or the sponge are compressible in nature. Clear? Or it can be compressed. Clear? Because the sponge have many holes or pores, and these holes or pores are occupied by the air molecules or gas molecules. Clear? And in this way we can compress the sponge. Clear to everyone? So once again you learn this all point and also the questions and the definition for the solid state. Clear? Now I will talk about for the liquid and liquid state. Clear? In my next video. Thanks a lot.